Hello, fellow Sublime Text fanatics. Welcome to the Devlog for Devember, day 15. Hey, look, on the 15th day of December, my hairstylist gave to me a haircut. I trimmed the beard myself. Welcome to the devlog, as I said, and it was sort of a fun-filled night. I went off on a romp where I was a boob, and then I did some stuff where I was an idiot. But in the end, we got stuff done. Hooray! So what actually happened? Well, as I mentioned before and have mentioned again and keep mentioning, don't get a lot of time to do stuff officially on Saturdays and Sundays, but I do take a long morning walk. So while I was walking this morning, I thought in my head, how do I want to structure the data that we're going to need, the metadata for files? Because what we have been working on is gathering the list of files that we need to transmit to the server. But what do we need to do that? And I've come up with the structure for that, which is this. For every file we want to transmit, we're going to want to know its name, right? Which is what we already have. We want to know its last modification date for our own internal purposes so that we can tell if it's been modified since the last time we looked. And again, this is something that could actually be done in a better way, like with iNotify or something, but we're just doing a proof of concept build here. We can fix that up and make it awesome later. And third, or fourth. Third, what we want is a hash of some sort. And I chose the SHA-1 hash or SHA-1 hash, however you pronounce that. I don't know, which is the one that Git uses for knowing what things are. And that's just so that we can know what the content is. So the code has been modified as follows. Instead of coming up with a list of files, it spits out a dictionary. And the dictionary has top level keys that are the full absolute path to the folder in question. So if it's a dot, it's the project path, for example, or otherwise it's the full path. The value of that is a dictionary. And in that dictionary, the keys are the names of the files complete with their path relative to that parent. So basically the contents of the array that we were creating yesterday. And the values are little objects that have that same name, the last modification date, and the SHA-1 hash. And we made it so that the SHA-1 hash can be optionally calculated or not. And the idea behind that is the server is going to have some concept of the files that it has in a local cache directory. And since we're the ones doing the developing and it's just getting files to build, it's going to assume its data never changes. So it's going to have a cached copy of the SHA-1 hash of everything. We can always get it to calculate that if we need it to, but that's how it's going to work for right now. When the server connects initially, it gathers its own list of all the information that it has by gathering the files and getting the SHA-1 hashes. And it also asks the server to provide it information. Now, maybe the server says, I don't know about that build if it's never happened before. Or if it has, it gives you the information that it had from the last time, which will say the names of the files, the build path, and the SHA-1 hash type stuff, right? We can use that and the data we have and stick them together, or well, not stick them together, but check them out and say, okay, well, I have that file, the server has that file, they're the same. Good, don't care. I have this file, the server doesn't. We're going to need to send that. The server has that file, I don't have it here. We need to delete that file. And we both have a file, but my hash is changed from his hash. I need to send it. And then we know exactly what we need to send to the server in order to get it to match us. From that point, we assume the server has the same data as us, and every time you do another build, we scan for files again, not calculating hashes, and then we just do quickly the same check against our local version, only now, instead of saying, is the hash the same, we say, is the modification time the same? And if it is, we assume the file is the same, and if the modification time is different, then we would calculate a new hash, send that file, and keep that new version of the metadata around. And that is the very simple system we're going to use for this to get things going. So we made that all happen. Also fixed a little bug wherein if there was multiple folders, they did not convey properly. And this is the embarrassing part for quite some time. We stupidly watched me chase down why rel path wasn't doing what I wanted until I finally keyed in that the help documentation is calculates the relative path to a place from a given start point, to a place, not from a place. Because in my head, and I know I've done this in the past, but it's just never sticks. Um, to a path means you get like dot dot slash dot dot. What I was trying to do is say if I have a relative path and it's relative to that, what's the actual full path name? You don't use rel path for that. If you want to figure out what change directory command you need to use to go from here to there, that's what you use reldir for. For what I wanted to do, you just take what you know the base path is going to be, you concatenate on with path join the relative part, and then you call the abs path function, which normalizes everything for you. It throws away the dot and everything does what you want. It also, I imagine, throws away dot dot slash and actually takes directory components out. So crazy bug fix on that end. The other stuff is good to go. We're going to do a little bit more on that tomorrow, maybe the whole stream if I'm an idiot like I am today, for one particular feature, and that is the notion that you might have multiple folders as a part of the build that are actually physically one inside the other, but for the purposes of them being in the sidebar or for other reasons, you might have split them out. Now, in our case, an example of that would be our repository has the remote build server directly inside it. So in the sidebar, there's one folder that's Devember 2018, and then all of that stuff, right? Now, including the remote build server. What we can do is say we want the Devember 28 folder, but exclude the remote build server, and then add another folder that says add Devember 2018 slash remote build server. Now that adds the top level Devember thing without the remote build server and then the remote build server under it, which is a nice way to look at it because it is a separate product, even if it is inside that folder. And I haven't checked that change in, but I probably will because I kind of like that. You might also do this, if you remember from yesterday, the way you exclude things excludes more than you might want. So you might need to, depending on the layout of your project, exclude something and then add back what you want as another top level folder. So in those cases, we want to be able to merge those back together into one thing. And I think that should be pretty simple, but we ran out of time. Essentially, it just involves saying that folder is some text, and my folder is that exact same text with another path name segment on the end. So home T Martin local source Devember 2018 for the first one, and home T Martin local source Devember 2018 remote build server for the second. So easy enough to say this one is the same as that one right up to remote build server. So if I just remove remote build server from the name of the path, add it to the relative names of all the files that are contained, and then take those entries and put them in the parent, we have inherently stuck them back together so they more accurately represent the local file system. I think that's the way I'm going to do that. The other way that comes to mind is to just gather all of the files with absolute file names and then try to split them apart. And maybe that's the way to go for other reasons, but we're not going to worry about that now. What we're going to worry about now is providing the salute sign off for Devember day 15 so I can get the vlog going. Up to YouTube and telling everybody to have a sublime day because we are coming really close to actually performing a build.